Hello, everyone. COVID-19 update number 4. Obviously, the situation with this virus is changing rapidly, and there's a lot of information to filter through out there. So it's hard to give a comprehensive update on all the information available. I've been trying to keep it brief, but a lot of information to cover. I think the biggest information coming out here recently is the Italy quarantine. Started just in northern Italy. There's some indoor men's and women's players in northern Italy. We've been in very close contact with them, understanding the situation, working with them if there's any action needed. And then yesterday, the entire country being quarantined was a bit of a surprise move. And so things are a little bit more unpredictable right now. But we are in very close contact with all athletes in that area and working case by case to make sure everything is getting taken care of. Right now, everyone is safe and everyone is doing well, and we're working with agents, clubs, the athletes themselves, and figuring each situation out on a case by case basis. The league in Italy, the indoor league in Italy, is shut down until April 3rd. They're going to be reevaluating at some point between now and then to determine next steps. But as of now, April 3rd, there's also the French and Polish leagues and other leagues in Europe that are considering other actions. Italy has been playing matches with no fans for a little while, and it looks like that might be on the table for other countries in Europe, such as France and Poland, to have their leagues continue with no fans, even though the amount of cases in those other countries compared to Italy is far fewer. The concern is that there could be a spread of the virus and other European countries just due to the close proximity and open borders that the virus could spread. And so other volleyball leagues are potentially going to follow suit with Italy's precautions of no fans, potentially even looking at the viability of the league moving forward. The FIVB will come out very soon with information on some of the indoor volleyball Nations League information. I would expect that to come out in the next week. I thought one little piece of information that I found kind of cool. Seema Yasmin is with Stanford Health Communication Initiative, and one thing she said is that the disease is not the only thing that spreads. There are emotional contagions. And I think we all know this. Obviously, your emotions are contagious, and either for the better or for the worse. And she said, in this case, that can actually cause big repercussions because people start acting from fear instead of reason, and misinformation spreads. And the misinformation is contagious, and people start to panic, but they aren't prepared because they're acting out of fear instead of reason. So the idea is to be prepared, get prepared, and don't panic, and don't let emotional contagions spread like the virus is spreading. The WHO update, they're going to update every 2 days now. The update from yesterday, let me just give you a brief synopsis. Now that the virus has a foothold in so many countries, the threat of a pandemic has become very real. But it would be the first pandemic in history that could be controlled. The bottom line is we are not at the mercy of this virus. The great advantage we have is that the decisions we all make, governments, businesses, communities, families, and individuals, can influence the trajectory of this epidemic. We need to remember that with decisive early action, we can slow down the virus and prevent infections. Among those who are infected, most will recover. They go on to talk about this recovery. It's interesting because the data of recovery just doesn't get reported as systematically as confirmed cases and deaths. So you're not seeing these numbers very clearly or very often or officially reported, but it's important information to have how many people recover after they've gotten the virus. And the number is pretty high. Of the other note on that is that it takes time to recover. And obviously, we're still in the infancy of this whole thing. And so, really, there's a lot of people that are going to recover that haven't yet. And So you'll see those numbers increase. And then the last part on this is what's the definition of recovery? Because it's not a systematically reported number, the definition of recovery is across the board and variable. So those are some of the reasons why you're not seeing a lot of the recovery numbers, but there are a lot of people recovering. Of the 80,000 reported cases in China, more than 70% have recovered and been discharged. It's also important to remember that looking only at the total number of reported cases and the total number of countries doesn't tell the whole story. Of all the cases reported globally, so far 93% are from just 4 countries. Different countries are in different scenarios requiring a tailored response. Of the 4 countries with the most cases, China is bringing its epidemic under control, and there is now a decline in new cases being reported from the Republic of Korea. Both these countries demonstrate that it's never too late to turn back the tide on this virus. The WHO continues, we're encouraged that Italy is taking aggressive measures to contain its epidemic, and we hope that those measures prove effective in the coming days. This update was before Italy put their entire country on quarantine. The mortality rates, there was a little note on that I thought would be worth sharing. And this is just on the China data. It takes time for these data points to come out. And in this rapidly changing environment, it's tough to get across country data right now because China was in the very beginning of this. You're seeing data come out from there. We don't know how accurate the data is, for one, and for two, it's just China. There is a lot of peer-reviewed data coming out soon. Peer-reviewed research is the gold standard form of scientific investigation as opposed to a news report or a media outlet. And there are going to be peer-reviewed articles and data coming out very soon, which will help us really understand some of the numbers a little better. But right now, the elderly are the most vulnerable. Right now, the mortality rates of 80 years and older are as high as 20%. So that's 1 in 5 people who have died if they're 80 years and older. There's some potential complicating variables there, but that's the numbers that are being reported. If you have cardiovascular disease, you're at a 13% mortality rate, diabetes 9%, respiratory disease 8%, cancer at 7.5%. The overall is considered to be around 3%, although there's some reports that it's much lower than that. However, there's no official data to confirm that report. So that's a little bit about mortality and the rates there. They finish by saying, let hope be the antidote to fear. Let solidarity be the antidote to blame. Let our shared humanity be the antidote to our shared threat. That wraps up COVID-19 update number 4.